brought to you by Accenture Extended Reality. This is Field of View.
When do you think this, big bang moment for AR will happen? Because a lot of people have been talking about this for the last 6 years, and it still has to happen. And what's your prediction? Is it something that is 1 year away, 3 years away, 5 years away, 10 years away? What's your vision on this? So you must have a plan for that.
Look, I think it's already happening, Nick. Microsoft just a couple of weeks ago announced a $22 billion deal with the US government. And to put that into context, that's more revenue in one deal than Snap, Twitter, and Instagram combined. So it's already happening, right? At the same time, you've got companies like Facebook that are announcing that 20% of their team are now working on AR and VR. And Tim Cook, said on a podcast recently with Kara Swisher that AR was fundamental to the future of AR, and more so than electric vehicles. So this is almost like day one. And the way I would characterize it, Nick, is I remember back in 2003 in very early Skype, when I said to people, we're going to be having calls, telephone calls on computers, and we're going to put headphones on, and we're going to connect up to home broadband and have phone calls that way. And they went, that's weird. Why would you do that? And of course, you roll forward 10 or 15 years, and Skype, voice over IP now probably accounts for over 25% of all the long distance calls, and we're all super familiar now, of course, with doing Zoom calls and calls like this. So I think we're at day one. This is a 10 to 15 year cycle, and we're pretty early in it. But my God, this is going to have profound impacts. Just in the same way as going from desktop computing to the mobile phone changed everything. I think over the next 10 to 15 years, as we go from the mobile phone to a new form of computing interface, where rather than having a screen and a keyboard in front of you, the internet is around you, and you don't have a keyboard, and you're controlling it through voice and neural links. It's going to be a whole new internet.
A lot of companies are starting to take, augmented reality a lot more seriously now, and invested in, they've probably been investing for quite some time. But, when we talk about where Apple were going with integrating, LiDAR sensors into all their devices, which, as many would know, is really just the first stepping stone for data collection in terms of being able to build a much more powerful device that can integrate that technology. But then you also look at, companies like Snap, for example, who have launched their things like local lenses and being able to have their landmark kind of markers as well with devices and things like that. What's I guess for those listening as well, what's the kind of difference where the Blippar sees itself compared to where maybe Instagram and Snapchat are taking the markets as well?
So there are a couple of differences, and you mentioned some of the social platforms. One of the big differences between what Blippar does and what they do is we are really focused on utility AR experiences. And by that, what I mean is we'll work with companies like Porsche to put a Porsche in your driveway, so that you can configure that Porsche or that Tesla or that Audi, change the color, see the size of it, and it's volumetrically correct. You can fully configure the interior, the exterior, the tires, and get that ordered, which is quite different from some of the fun experiences that you might have on a social network. We're talking about real in-depth utilities. And the other, one of the other big difference is we're cross-platform. So when you build on the Blippar platform, you can publish to any or at least several platforms, including some of the social networks. But it means that you can build once and publish anywhere and onto any device. So we're not only publisher agnostic, but we're also device agnostic.
Does this mean that then Blip is more going to be more of a behind the scenes tool then, rather than more of a front facing tool? Or?
I would say we are a behind the scenes, so we're a B2B content creation platform and studio, but we're also a backwards facing camera company, if that makes sense. So whereas the social networks are really all about front facing camera, increasingly there are a number of cameras on the back of the phone. And what's really interesting for us is how do we augment the world around the user and not focus entirely on the face. There's a limit to, we think, to what can be done that way, and people really want to augment and to make the world around them more immersive, more compelling, and that creates some of the opportunities that Nick was talking about, whether that's in real estate or healthcare or education or e-commerce.
Did you know you can catch this full episode of Field of View and more by subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts to not miss another immersive technology moment? Subscribe today.